So it's been raining. In fact, I just heard a little bit of thunder, but it stopped temporarily. So I've been faffing in my tent, and I thought it might be interesting to just go through the stuff that we have as cavers on a caving expedition, as opposed to just doing like trips in the UK. And of course there's some overlap. A lot of these things I actually just take generally in the UK, but I thought it might be interesting. So, laid out my roll mat. So from left to right, I'm going to start with stuff that's actually important for safety. So for starters, I have my caving spanner. And so actually generally in the UK and certainly in Slovenia, I always have an adjustable one. And this is because the bolts are sometimes different sizes out here. So the 8mm bolts, both spits and through bolts, have a 13mm roughly spanner, but you also sometimes find 10mm and other odd sizes in the cave. So I always have an adjustable, and it's also useful to be able to adjust bits and bobs on your metalwork, particularly your descender. And around my neck at all times I have this. It's a little bit of string just as a necklace. And on here I have a very, very noisy whistle. Also have a knife, which is mainly used for eating cheese, but is also very useful for cutting the rope, for rope rescues and just for general sort of rigging when you're sort of cutting ropes to pitch lengths. And this is just a cheap Swiss Army knife. It's the smallest one they do and has like a bottle opener, a can opener and a knife, and that's all. I also have a backup light. So this is just a single AAA battery torch with an LED. It has a very low mode, so the low mode will run for something like 100 hours, so I'll always have light in the cave as long as I have this with me. And it just has I think it has a lithium disposable battery inside it, which gives some maximum power. Around my neck I just have my Tika, which is what I mainly use as my backup light, and also just on the surface of wandering around. And this just runs off rechargeable batteries, which I keep topped off occasionally when I remember. So I also have a first aid kit, and so the first thing you notice, it's only about the size of a can of Coke, so there's really not much stuff in here. So the quality of care that we can give in the cave is appallingly bad. So we take the stuff, and it's the bare minimum that we can take with us, but the key thing is try and avoid needing a rescue. It's quite difficult to take this off one-handed. So it's in a crush-proof, waterproof container. And inside here you have some just very basic drugs. In particular you have drugs for diarrhea, because that's quite awkward to deal with if you're underground. And if you can see just poking down the end, there's a lighter, which is mainly used for lighting stoves, underground camp, and also candles for the warmth. And then here there will be some zinc oxide tape, there'll be some steri strips, there'll be a bandage, there'll be the main bulk of it is actually just a triangular bandage and sort of typical sort of safety pins and so on. So really quite minimalist. But we have this on us all the time, just in our SRT bag, which is a little orange bag over in the top left there. So you always have a bare minimum of stuff. And the next thing is lighting. So this is an alkaline flat cell. They're going to stop making them for a while, and then they decided they're going to continue making them, which is great. And that's just there as a backup. So my helmet, which is underneath my socks, it has my survival bag in it. And then in there is actually a rechargeable battery, which has a lot of oomph in it. Then also in there is a tiny little connector, which allows me to use this, which is in my oversuit pocket when I'm wandering around in the cave. And other sort of important safety equipment, and so this is a pulley, and you might notice these big red carabiners are oval, and I always have two hand jammers with me whenever I go caving, so the spare one's just tucked away in my SRT bag. But in combination with these pulleys and the fact that some of my gear just generally is rigged off these oval carabiners, and I have a pulley, means that I can construct a pulley jammer system for dragging either objects or people up a rope. And so in particular, if someone's injured and they're basically self-rescuing but could do with a bit of extra assistance, this enables you to do that. Or in other situations, if they're actually immobilised, but you need to get them up a certain pitch due to the fact that it's dangerous or it's flooding at the bottom, then you can still do something while you're awaiting the main rescue. And then non-safety equipment, useful things. There's just the cheap GoPro camera. I find this is very useful if you actually hold it in a fist like this, so the camera sort of pokes between your fingers, and there's actually just about enough light off your helmet to actually sort of record live what's going on. And because it's waterproof, you don't need to worry about it too much. This is a light for videoing underground. You put it on a sled, and this is a little MP3 player with a set of speakers, which makes it a lot more pleasant when you're sort of waiting around in the cave. And that's about it for unusual additional caving equipment, which you might not necessarily use in the UK doing SRT trips.